Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve. Today is a super fun video that I honestly, stuff I worked on in this video are just straight from like pretty late at night. Once again, thanks to Magpie on Discord and in the YouTube comments. They showed me how to basically pull models from other maps. And so if you'll notice in Undead Burg here, you now have the entire Firelink Shrine map visible from Undead Burg. Before, it was a low poly, awful looking, facsimile of Firelink Shrine, but barely. It was pretty bad. But that's PS3 360 limitations, right? They had to do what they had to do. But here, you can now have the whole tree, the actual bridge that you walked through or inside to get to Undead Burg is now there visibly, and you can see the whole archway. And I had to do something clever with the ground because normally you can't see all the way here, and there's usually something blocking it. So I had to duplicate the floor of the entire world. It's a whole thing. But yes, you can now see the whole Firelink Shrine all the way in the distance, and even the light rays that are coming down, those are all visible as well. And it's actually a trick in that the Firelink Shrine I'm looking at right now is not actually the real one. It's a duplication. And so what we're seeing here, you would not be able to traverse. But once I go through the Undead Burg tunnel, it becomes the real Firelink Shrine. And I'll show you how I did that. It's a really nifty feature in DS Map Studio, and I do have both pulled up. So one of them is the Prepare to Die edition, just so I can show you the low poly model. So here's Undead Burg, and you can see from Undead Burg, let's get to the same spot. This is what was visible, which is this. It's this little mesh. It's weird. And there's some distance, so similar there. And they did have this little tree that was there, little leaves and whatnot. But when you get closer to it, you can see how bad it really is. It's just this nasty, low poly looking, and for as far away as it was, they weren't too concerned with it, right? And so it even has holes in it, and it's pretty nasty, right? And you can actually, whoop, delete it. I actually deleted this low poly model from my mod like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, hopefully no one notices, because you had to look at a certain way from Undead Burg, but there was just like a big gaping hole there, and I was like, shit, I hope no one notices that, because it was so ugly that I was like, I gotta get rid of it. It's just nasty. And so over here we have my remastered project. And you might be thinking, oh, is this just the Firelink Shrine map? No, this is actually as you can see, I have the Undead Burg map loaded. I don't even have Firelink Shrine loaded. But the entire Firelink Shrine has basically, even including the graveyard, which there's no point to that, more or less, but I'm okay with it. Like, yeah, that's what I love, is that these little shrub thingies aren't even visible, so I could delete those, but it's not a big deal. Maybe some of it is visible. Yeah, like these things, I do. Yeah, that was actually an issue. You could see the shrubs there. And yeah, so now it's the whole map. And you can see like up the staircase, which of course isn't connected to anything. So basically what I had to do is load in all of these map pieces, duplicate them over, and then I actually had to delete. So normally there's obviously a big rock wall, or whatever you want to call this, or mountain related thing that's kind of right over here. And I had to delete that. So that's why this looks weird and not like it does in the Firelink Shrine map, because I had to basically merge the two maps, in that the Firelink Shrine map included a lot of fake Undead Burg things, and the Undead Burg map included a lot of fake Firelink Shrine things to sort of bridge the gap, right? And so I had to basically just delete those. The next step might be to go into the Firelink Shrine map and basically bring Undead Burg into that map. And so from there, you could see the real Undead Burg. But I would say that honestly, like, I think you see a pretty good representation of Undead Burg from here already in the Firelink Shrine map. So I'm not too concerned with that. We'll see. I am interested in, like, you can kind of fly over here in Undead Burg, and it's kind of ugly, and it's like this weird shrub material. So I'm a little curious there of maybe replacing that. The other step would be to, as you can see here, for Undead Burg, they do use a fake Sen's Fortress. And it's a pretty nasty one. It's not as bad as the Firelink Shrine facsimile at all, but it's not great. I could easily just put the real Undead, or the real Sen's Fortress, right? And so, because that is visible from not a whole lot of places, but I like up here, it's obviously super visible and it's super ugly. And so that's obviously one place that I could easily do that. But how I did it is it's actually pretty easy. You do have to look basically, and you have Undead Burg here, and you can see your map pieces. And you can see the ones I copied in, because they all have 0000 at the end of it. But basically, and you'll also see one thing that helped is that all of the Firelink Shrine map pieces were designated with B2, and all of Undead Burg was B1. And so the fact that those are different mean that the game engine treats those models separately, even though there are M2000, M2000, and M2001. There are actually a lot of crossovers, but thankfully they were named just slightly differently with the B1 and B2. And so that made it comparable to where I could shove them into the same map and not have issues. But how I did it is that you basically load, like for instance, we're going to load both maps at once. And you'll see that's where you start getting into some issues for sure, as there's overlapping geometry. And basically we now have the Firelink Shrine map open completely. Duplicated, technically. There's two of them open. And the reason why, how you can know it's open, is that the objects have loaded and the enemies have loaded, which technically the bird isn't an enemy, but and you can see Framp there. So those are all the things that are not being taken over. I'm only taking the map pieces. And so what you do is you now have both of them loaded, and from the map that you want to steal said things, you basically select all of the map pieces, and then you can go to edit, duplicate to map, and you can actually choose the two maps you have loaded, one being Firelink Shrine, one being Undead Burg. And so I can hit 1001, and it will basically shove all the map pieces, duplicate them, and then throw them into the Undead Burg. And that's what I did. And then you can basically unload the Firelink Shrine. And so you'll only have your new map open that you've duplicated everything into. So that's how you do it. And then the next thing you need to do actually is, for instance, in the folder for it, so 1001, you actually have to take the model files, because now that they're shoved in there in DS Map Studio, it doesn't mean they're going to show up in game. You actually have to go in here, and this is 1002, which is Firelink Shrine. You have to then grab all of these fiverr.dcx files for all of the models, and then copy them, and then shove them, as I've done here, into the folder for Undead Burg. So that's how you get them to actually get loaded. The other thing is, those are just the models. Those don't include the textures. And so I believe, although it might be fine, I don't know, I haven't tested it, but Magpie was like, you just basically make sure that a connect collision, which is, there's two types of collisions. There's collision and connect collision. The connect collision tells the engine to basically pull stuff from other maps. And I think that's one way of doing this, where you can render other maps from here. But basically, this is sort of the goofy way. but I can do this because the game engine, or well, the game itself is pretty old. So rendering an entire other map inside of another map doesn't really change performance. And I'm on a pretty mid-range PC, I would say, with a RTX 2060. I've noticed absolutely no difference at all, because obviously it's not rendering it all of the time, but it basically does render it from Undead Burg, and then once you get close enough to Firelink Shrine, it only loads Firelink Shrine. So you're still not basically having both maps all the time. And but yeah, you have a connect collision that basically, let's see, there's one in here. So the connect collisions, there's actually quite a few, but you'll see there's one here, and it basically says map ID 0, 10, map ID 1, 2, and 10, 2, as we know, is Firelink Shrine. And so from what I understand, that should pull the textures for the models I grabbed in. So that's sort of your roundabout way of getting basically a giant improvement in visibility. And I think it's awesome. Like, it's just, oh, it's so much better to see everything from Firelink Shrine. Oh, it's such a big upgrade. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Oh, I think I can see through the world again. Yeah, there's a little hole in the geometry down there. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. So let's keep running here. Because there's another example that I've done, and that's with a fun one. That's going to be in the Duke's archives. Because if you remember, there's a really nasty Anor Londo that is visible from the Duke's archives. So here, everything looks cool, everything's great. And now I need to try to remember how to get to that viewpoint. I'm really bad at Duke's archives, and I really dislike the enemies here. Oh god, yeah, the coloring is off. Don't mind that. Don't worry about that. I'll fix that. Nope, not this side. Son of a bitch. I legit hate these enemies. This is an area I don't really enjoy being in, to be honest. I'm just like, nope. Don't like this map. I think it's up here. Yeah, I think it's up here. Maybe. Am I lucky? Am I cool? Yes. Excellent. Okay, so now we're safe. And now you can see the glorious Anor Londo. Oh shit. God damn it. Y'all are ruining my video. No. These are just my most hated enemies. Oh, they're so nasty. Yeah, there you go, dog. Oh, man. Okay. You know what? Oh, this is bad. This is bad. Alright. Yeah, we gotta... Alright, one down. Yeah, they're a little dark out here, aren't they? Okay. Alright. Yeah, so here's the whole Anor Londo map loaded up, and I'm going to show you the fake one, because it's really ugly. Also, this doesn't look 100% correct yet with coloring. That's because they were stolen. You ran all the way over here? What? Normally, you just kind of mind your own business, dog. And, but yeah, so basically their coloring is different because the advantage with Firelink Shrine and Undead Burg is that they are part of the same draw param, right? They're both M10. And so they share the same A10 draw param, so the coloring and all the light settings are the same for what you could choose. Unfortunately, Duke's Archives is M17, Anor Londo is M1501, so they don't share a draw param. And unfortunately with that means that the coloring, like the light ID and all the default settings for these map pieces are just super wrong, and it looks terrible. And also some of them were really light, some were dark because I had stripped out the baked lighting from some of these, if you remember from my earlier videos. And so now I've had to go through and strip out more of the baked lighting to make it look equivalent, and I have to edit the lighting as well, or the settings, the params. Also, there's something interesting. You'll notice that tower where my head is right now is actually the copied tower from the beginning that you ride the elevator. I duplicated it and I made it bigger, and then I moved it around a little bit, and I made a couple of them. And then where my head is right now, that's actually the map piece that is normally right there and there. I duplicated that, moved it around. So basically, and then this, where my head is right now, that is the map piece that is the where you do the sort of platforming and the walk on the high beams. I copied that, moved it around, rotated it, because normally these look really bad and there's an empty spot in the map where the player could never look, right? Let's see. So let's load up both of our maps here. So this is my other Prepare to Die project. Let's unload that and let's load Duke's Archives. I'm going to show you how ugly the Anor Londo is. So this is the wall that they have. It looks fine. It's pretty incomplete and there's holes in it. And see, here is their facsimile of what the elevator looks like. And it's pretty bad. Also, there's fucking fog here. I'll just delete that for a second. And so here is the fake Anor Londo. In an earlier video, like a month ago, I talked about it. And it's nasty. Like, it's just nasty. It's just real bad. The trees look fine, you know. But the actual like map piece here, like you'll see a lot of it is just completely has holes in it, and it's just nasty. So it's been on my list for a long time to replace because it's just really ugly. And once again, I know that they had to do what they had to do. They didn't have the performance to render the entire Anor Londo on PS3. Like that's just not a thing. So I kind of realized that's a lot of what my mod is, similar to my DS2 mod. I'm basically undoing the limitations that the original game had with PS3 and 360. Like that's a big part of it. Now that I've understood how I can pull in other maps, that actually opens up another possibility that I'm going to look into. Is someone in the YouTube comments mentioned that, so this area of Duke's Archives that I've already made look a lot better with like shadows and removing baked shadow maps and all that, this is actually a perfect candidate for grass, right? The dynamic grass, like, because here they just didn't do it. I think they ran out of performance. They were just like, well, our rendering budget can't a lot for that because this is clearly grass, but there just is no dynamic grass. And unfortunately it's going to be kind of a pain since it's uneven, right? It's kind of like up and down and up and down. And so that's going to be difficult, but I should be able to pull the actual grass map piece that is used in Firelink Shrine, and I can pull it into Duke's Archives and then duplicate it as many times as I want. And technically that should work. We'll see. We'll see. That's kind of on my list. It's going to take a while to put the grass actually like on the ground here, but I think it would look really cool. Or I could pull grass from Darkroot Garden, I guess, because it has a similar look and a similar trees, I think. So that's certainly an idea. The other idea is to pull... actually, yeah, let's get rid of Undead Berg for a second. In my remastered project, and let's pull up Duke's Archive so I can show you. Yeah, and so just to reiterate, I am only loading Duke's Archives. I'm not loading Anor Londo at all. But as you can see now, we can actually see. And the funny thing is, Anor Londo is much bigger than Duke's Archives in terms of space. So this area over here was mostly barren. Like you'll see, this is the base map piece that is sort of like the fodder buildings that were just kind of there that aren't real. And then I added this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. So I was adding a lot of buildings to try to like flesh it out. Um, the weird thing is the actual. Oh, now I know why the middle piece didn't come with it. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. That's fine. From here, it's not visible anyway. The middle piece that is the bridge, that is actually an object. So when I pulled over all the map pieces, well, of course that didn't come with it, since that is labeled an object because it's dynamic. So it had to be an object instead of a map piece. There's character initiation related things and reasons for that. So that makes sense. But yeah, so that's big upgrades, I think, to the mod. I haven't made it live yet. I'm still kind of bug fixing, but I thought it was kind of cool, right? What do you guys think of now seeing like distant uh, maps like this versus those really low poly ones? I think it's a giant upgrade. I'm so happy with how it turned out. I just need to modify some of these color settings a little bit to make it look a little bit more Anor Londo-y. It even pulled the sky thingamajiggies, light shafts from Anor Londo as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like the video if you want to, you know, helps out a lot. Share the video with anyone who you think might find it really cool, what I'm doing with Dark Souls 1. And subscribe if you haven't already. I usually post daily of kind of the updates on the mod and presumably other mods too. Maybe a Dark Souls 3 video upcoming. We'll see. I'm having a lot of fun with Dark Souls 1, so I don't plan to go away from that anytime soon. But yeah, thanks for watching. Praise the sun. And I'll see you next time.